Hey, you guys. Hello. Hey, keep it going for Green Space, for Don Will. Thank you, Don Will. I'll put this here. Okay, hi, you guys. I'm just going to look at you for a second. Take you in. Yes. It's so cool. We are all like nerds, you know? Because here we are on a Friday night. This is where I would rather be than a bar with like someone touching my lower back. You know what I mean? Like, this is so much better. Cool. Cool. We haven't done this in a while, so I'm really like taking it in, living in the moment. Whoops. See? Real. That was improv. It's really fun to have a clipboard as like, that's like my prop. It's like functional, but also that's the generator prop, a lucite clipboard. How's everybody doing today? I've been really excited about the genuine autumn we've been bestowed. It's the first one in like 40 years that doesn't go from, I don't know what Indian summer is now called, but whatever, like a hot week, you know what I mean, to instant, blizzard, polar vortex or whatever. Like, it's a real autumn. I'm loving it. Loving it. Being in LA. Just kidding. Okay, so hi. Tonight we have two awesome guests. I like always forget if I can curse. I can, and I probably will accidentally. We have two awesome guests tonight that I'm so excited to show you and share with you. I feel like I get to have these conversations, and I feel like so lucky that I get to, and then Generator started because I wanted to share these conversations, which I'll get to more specifically later. But I want to tell you first what Generator is. Who are we? What are we trying to do? We are continually figuring that out. But we have gotten our like elevator pitch down, okay, like pretty well. So we are a two-part collective that is both an online movement and a live event series. Duh, here we are. But the online movement is about getting 2-camera videos, like selfie videos, basically, on Instagram, which is where our online movement lives. And it's 2-camera videos about an issue, anybody who is thus becoming a generator by making this video, an issue someone has with the system and the way it runs. And then if you tag Generator, we hashtag your video into a policy, showing you how your issues actually translate to policy. Our goal with Generator is to think of policy. You know, it like feels like, I mean, it's true. Like some people are like controlling our lives who don't live near us or live life with us. It's so scary. And I guess as I become an adult, I'm like, what's the system? You know what I mean? And how does it work? You know, so this is kind of an investigation into that. I also feel another thing with Generator is that I'm like, I really love my parents, and they talked to me like I was like a person worthy of having my own ideas very young, which I think is like a really, which is like the basis of an education, having an adult who's like, what do you think? And you're like, I like it, or whatever. So then on top of that, I went to school on Long Island. Why must we say on? I don't know, but I went to school on Long Island and in a town where I was like safe going to school. I wasn't in harm's way in school. Honestly, the education wasn't genius, but I was safe enough to learn. And then I went to NYU, a private school. So I'm like, I'm pretty smart. I co-created Broad City, you know, like I think I'm pretty smart. Why don't I know what I'm voting on in November 5th? That's like fucked up. Why is it not so abundantly clear what's happening with the vote? Well, I'll show you later, like the NYC voter guide, if anybody got it in the mail, but it's like, better study up, you know, and I'm like, I can't read, you know, this whole, all 7 pages of, you know, it's like, I'm not an idiot though. Like, I know I'm not a total idiot. Like sometimes I am, and I like try to capitalize on that. But, you know, when it comes to like daily life, I'm like, I'm capable. Why don't I know? Because it's elusive and it's been made elusive. So we're really about humanizing policy and also about being okay with not knowing shit, basically. I guess because I've capitalized on it, I'm okay with being seen as dumb or ignorant, Like I'm ignorant to all this shit. And it's like, I wish I knew already what we were voting on. I wish I was like excited about the ballot initiatives, but I'm in fact nervous to learn about them, to then learn how little I actually know. So we hope to break the ice here, get some Cliff Notes, cheat sheets, and at least open a space to say like, I don't know, and that's okay. We wanted to try something a little new tonight, which was, so usually we have these like generator booths where people, like volunteers, help people who come to the show become generators, which just means that you make this video. God bless. Agnostic, God bless, LOL, green space. Okay, public radio, okay. So we don't have those booths tonight, so I'm wondering if anybody would want to Jenny with a Frenny, aka make a generator video with me and do it on stage. Yeah, come on up with the glasses in the back. Oh, sorry, no. You know what? It was because she jumped up that you like won the seat. I can't even choose. You have to choose between yourselves. No, you don't. Yeah, you want to rock, paper, scissors. That's like really democratic. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, cool, dope. Thank you guys for the democracy. I appreciate it so much. I was scared. I am not a tyrannical ruler, so I didn't. Hi, what's your name?
I'm Judah.
Hi, Judah. Ilana.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, how old are you?
I'm 14 years old.
Oh my God, 14. Youth! Yes, dude. Judah, that's dope because we specifically have a youth leader as a guest tonight. So I'm excited for you to actually participate while we all watch and in awe of the youth. So cool. Where are you from?
I'm from right here in New York City.
Cool. Awesome. What hood do you live in?
I grew up right in Union Square.
Oh my God. You're a cool kid, dude. Yes.
I'm also a comedian.
Oh! Judah, what kind of comedy do you do?
I do stand-up and improv.
Oh my God, I bet your stand-up is fucking hilarious.
I hope so.
It is. I know it is. That's hysterical. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh my God, I basically worship you. You're like my idol.
Basically? What do you mean? Extensively, you mean? I'm just kidding. I worship you. You have the answers to the next generation of comedy. I'm no longer funny, unfortunately. I lost it already. It's you. It's all on you, Judah. I'm like JK, but I'm also like fulfilling a prophecy and also like saying it before anybody else does. It's my own issues. But cool. Oh my gosh, what a cool ass kid. Damn. Can I high five?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I'm gonna first show you how to Jenny with a Frenny.
Okay.
I'll like prompt you.
Gotcha.
You are clearly like comfortable with a freaking mic. Look at you, dog. I am loving it. Judah!
Yeah.
Okay, dope. And then we'll switch and you'll do the same for me.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. And y'all bear with me. There's like a little administrative work to do, aka tagging. It's okay.
It's all very complicated.
Yeah, it's a really scientific approach. Okay, cool. So.
Being an expert.
Okay. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Judah Engert.
Your age, gender, pronoun, location.
I am 14 years old. I'm a he, him, and I'm in the LL Green space.
That's right. Okay, one sec. So first, we tag generator.
Watch a lot of NPR.
And then, do you?
I do.
Dope.
Every
And
morning.
also watch. Amazing.
Oh.
Like you add the video component. I love it.
Sometimes. Well, they have cameras and stuff.
What's your no, I know, but also it's like I'm like listening while I'm like doing other shit, and you're like truly engaged. I love it. What's your Insta?
I am at DJ Hadouj, which is Judah backwards. So, and I'm also a professional DJ for DJ for kids' birthday parties. Shout out.
I am living. Okay, yes. Okay, so name, age, like ASL, LOL. And then, okay.
OMG.
So, do you know ASL? It's okay, do you? It's
Not
from like the
really.
AOL years when I was like your age and I was like, 18 years ago, I was your age, I'm 32, and I would be in chat rooms and like creeps would prey on children, basically, and be like ASL, age, sex, location, but the new version of it for us, yeah, it was scary.
I've read of these ancient times.
Yeah, it's really messed up. Things are way better on the internet now. The grown-ups took care of it.
It's really segregated into still that and then other things.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So it's like we just changed it to age, gender pronoun. And that was great. Like, look at the tip of the tongue the youth has, their gender pronouns. I'm loving it. Okay.
Middle school GSA.
Guys, okay, I'm loving it. Okay, Judah, what's one thing you love?
I love doing and watching comedy.
Woo! Okay, and Judah, what's one issue you have with the system? Just any issue you have with the way things are run.
I might have gotten this from Family Guy, but I have an issue with censorship. Like, censorship on the in social media, what we're showing to our children, what's being allowed on television. Random reference, but to the Trailer Park Boys, they made a movie about making their own streaming service where you pay $5 a month, and then they could like do whatever they wanted, and it was really successful. So
cool.
I care a lot about like First Amendment, and, like being able to voice your opinion.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, that was so dope. Okay, let me just tag you, and then we're gonna switch, and I'll like tell you the DJ Hadoush. Do you have any like what's it like? How'd you get into DJing kids' birthday parties? How'd you like put yourself out there for that?
Well, it started out with I would donate. So excuse me, I had a Diet Coke, so I'm burping a little bit.
No worries. Dude, I am so comforted by belches. I appreciate you. I'm like about to
they're the most comfortable gas that can come out of your body.
Yeah, definitely. LOL! DJ Hadoush! Oh my God, DJ Hadoush. Okay, cool. Well, you'll go next, but tell me what were you saying?
I'm so anxious, I completely forgot.
Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, so now you'll
Oh right, yes, I'm gonna interview you.
But you can also do your phone.
I do have my phone.
You could do it. That'll be like fun and cute.
I have Instagram. I never use it, so I keep forgetting that I have it.
What?
I'm so sorry that my happiness doesn't depend on other people knowing how happy or sad I am at any given moment.
Oh my God! Please save us, Judah. Save us.
Photo. Got it.
Okay. Wait, not photo.
Oh no.
Story,
Video.
Sorry.
Oh,
no.
Story. Oh, story. Oh, you're new.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, so.
Okay, wait. Oh, I'm in selfie.
Ask me. Say, name ASL something you love. Say that to me.
Oh shoot! I zoomed in too much. Hi. What's your name, ASL, and something that you love?
Ilana, 32, she, her, New York City. Something I love is honestly doing Generator lives. Okay, stop.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and now tag Generator.
Gotcha.
At. Generator. Yeah, there it is.
There we go.
And then tag me. Please
okay.
tag me.
Wait, I'll do another one. And then, so we...
and it's just ILANA. Great.
I-L-A.
Perfect. That's it.
I swear normally I can...
Dude, it's like so cool. And also it's like so cool that I'm like, you tag it. You gotta tag it immediately. And it's like, okay, chill. You know what I mean? And you're like cooler than me because you're not on Insta.
Elder millennial.
Yeah, an elder millennial. Thank you. Ooh. When do I become middle-aged? Like I remember in like the 90s, it was like 33. I'm 32. I was like, And now we extend it until like 50. You can like wear cool clothes. You can be like whatever, a slut to your 50, whatever.
That was the name of a Netflix comedy special of Elder Millennial.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
I spent too much time on Netflix.
That's dope. Not enough time on Instagram. Okay,
Not enough time on Instagram. Okay, so just my story, I press share.
Yeah, but okay.
Oh, whoops.
No. I just want to make sure you tagged both. I knew you probably didn't because
no.
You're living your life.
Oh, did I accidentally untag it?
No. It's just that there were 2 videos. Okay, cool.
Oh, gotcha.
Great, now
okay.
you do next.
Let's just share to my story and then done.
Yeah.
I'm learning how to
And
use
then-
Instagram.
From an elder millennial. And then, okay, and then one more. And then say,
Okay.
what's an issue you have with the system?
What's an issue you have with the system?
I have an issue with mass incarceration. There's so much that's messed up about it. I don't know everything about it, but I know that it's fucked up and that the system is profiting off of poor people.
Heavy, man.
Sorry, bro.
All right.
Okay, cool. And then you, heavy but like tight, you know what I mean? Short and
Like-
sweet, so it's
like-
not like so fucking
Yeah.
heavy.
Oh, and it saved both of the ats, so I don't have to search it up again.
Perfect. See, they know.
And then
And they're listening and advertising to you. Okay, cool.
always.
Okay, I'll like repost your post, and then DJ Hadouj will hopefully get, you know what I mean,
Oh,
on the follows.
hopefully.
Can I give you a hug? Thank
Of
you.
course. Oh my God, thank you.
Okay, give it up for Judah. Thanks. Give it up for Judah! Also, like, he's like so stoked and yet still was diplomatic. Like, j'appreciate, dog. Thank you, Judah. What a superstar kid. Damn. Okay, that was literally fucking amazing, obviously. Young people are so brilliant. It's crazy. Cool. So that's it. Okay, was it totally simple? No, but you get better and better. And what we're trying to do with Generator is define minimal civic engagement and then embody that. And we feel like voting in the elections, and yes, LOL, yeah, minimal civic engagement. It's like, you know, I'm like, I should also do this and I should also be doing that. But it's like, what's the fucking minimum we can do is bring it into the discourse, vote every election, and canvass once every 4 years. Big fucking deal, you know? Okay, great. So that's what a Jenny video is. Also, just a little phrase. Listen, we're just like trying shit out and just saying, you know what I mean? Like finding it, and we're here to play and explore. But there's also so much hateful rhetoric constantly, and it's like, I don't even want to fucking go there. I can't even go there because it's too much, and I'm like, I'm like choking on all the hate speech in like the news, and I can't even like, I can't even go there. But moderate, level-headed conversation. Like, it's like you can't disagree. If you disagree, it has to be hate speech hurled at each other from the, like, you know what I mean, on the news and from our government and president. We're trying to drown it out. Drown out that hate speech. Have real people be filling airtime with just normal, moderate, healthier conversation. Okay, great. Great for me. I hope you're having a good time. Anyway, okay, so our first guest is a fucking genius, a youth leader and genius. I met. I'm gonna like bone it by like saying his name first, but it's okay. I met Vic Barrett on the train. Like 2 or 3 years ago now, and Vic knew me from Broad City and was like, Broad City? And I was like, well, what do you do? Because, like, you know what I do, you know what I mean? So give me something. I need material. Please, give me something. And Vic was humbly like, oh, I'm just here because I'm giving a talk at the Brooklyn Museum on the climate crisis. And I was like, whoa, what? What do you mean? You know, I could hardly put it together. Like, takes so much agency. And Vic was telling me about all the work he does, which we'll explore in a second. But I was like, this is too good. We started DMing and chatting, and I was like, this is too good a conversation for me to just like hold myself. Like I had this privilege because he knew of Broad City, so I could talk to this brilliant person, but I wanted to share this conversation. So that's kind of how the live event series portion of Generator was born, because of Vic's genius and how it was too good not to share. So we're going to learn about what Vic's been up to and what the heck going on with the youth climate movement. So give a warm, rowdy welcome to Vic Barrett. Hi, Vic.
Hello. Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, of course. Always a good time.
LOL, Judah.
Yeah, that
My
was
favorite
great.
comedian. Literally my favorite comedian now. And DJ. Sorry, Donwell. I mean, ties for a favorite DJ. DJ Hadouj and Donwell. Give it up for Donwell, everybody. Keeping the vibes nice and right up in here. Okay, hi Vic. How are you doing?
Good. Glad to be back in New York, which is nice. Definitely a little tired from all the work and moving around, but feeling good. This has been my relaxation week, so that's been nice.
In New York?
Yeah, been
Cool.
sleeping a lot.
Awesome, good. So you are from White Plains, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's cool. And where are you living right now?
Right now, I live in Madison, Wisconsin.
Woo! Got some Maddies, Wiscos. I don't know. I'm singing it.
Yeah, so I'm living in Madison, Wisconsin right now. I was going to the University of Wisconsin the last 2 years, but I'm taking this year off right now because of all the work and travel.
Yeah. Oh, why? Why would you? Because of the impending doom? Is that why you felt like you had to take off?
Yeah, I felt like my time was better spent out in the streets and at the UN and stuff than in my classes.
That is the unfortunately true. I wish I could be like, no, you should, but I'm like, oh God, thank you, Vic. So what's your last month been?
Yeah, it's been insane. Basically, once Greta got to the United States and with this the UN Climate Action Summit that was happening in New York, it's been absolutely crazy. Youth climate activists have definitely been just working full time. I was in.
So you said when Greta Thunberg came to, I'm like, Thunberg, LOL, I don't know how to, Thunberg, do you say?
Yeah.
So when Greta came to the U.S., it amped up, and is that what you're saying? And you guys were at the UN
Yeah, for sure.
Youth Climate Summit together.
Yeah, there was the UN Youth Climate Summit and the UN Climate Action Summit, which were both going to be kind of these unprecedented gatherings of leaders making commitments to what they're going to do to basically solve the climate crisis. And with Greta coming, it was this amazing opportunity for the youth climate movement to get a really big spotlight in that moment. I'm sure, as it's obvious, she brings a lot of attention to what young people have been doing to try to mitigate this climate crisis. And so her being here was definitely garnered a lot of energy up. And with the Fridays for Future movement in the United States, it definitely strengthened what they were already doing.
Right, the Fridays for Future.
Yeah.
Cool. When did that start?
It started when Greta first sat outside of the
Wow.
Swedish parliament, I think in just over a year ago,
Oh,
little
gotcha.
over a year ago.
So yeah, I wanted to talk about this. Sorry, lucite. Sorry. Greta has gotten so much attention, and it's funny. It's like because I know you from the subway, which is like how I meet my friends. I'm like Vic, and then it's like you're like arms around Greta or whatever at the UN, and then. But it's like Greta. She's just gotten so much attention, and I can't help but think it's because she's a young white girl that it is easier for mass audiences to wrap their heads around the pain or something.
Yeah, it's definitely been really interesting to see and watch, especially doing this since I've been 13, 14 years old, and knowing so many people who've been doing it for even longer than I have.
Let me unpack that a sec. So this was the thing when we were on the train when we first met. I was like, you started what? When? I didn't know about an environment until I was, in college or whatever. So you started when you were 13. And Glennis, my co-founder, who you'll meet later, was telling me about this interview she read of yours where it was like, when did you get passionate about the environmental causes? And you're like, it's not passion, it's literally life or death, and my life and death, because of how the climate crisis affects different populations differently. So can you just paint a picture for us what it looked like you getting into this type of activism at 13?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I started going to school in New York City after I didn't grow up in White Plains. I lived in White Plains all of high school, but I grew up even further upstate in really rural upstate New York, in a 98% white conservative town.
Fun.
And then
Cool. Oh, chill. Yeah,
and then
yikes.
I went
Okay.
to high school in the West Village, which was clearly a very stark difference
Wow.
in just like the way things were.
A public school?
No, I went to a private school.
Wow.
I went to Catholic school, actually.
Ooh, okay. I'm scared, man. This is like, that's a lot of pressure cooker type of shit. Pressure
Yeah.
cooker environments.
Yeah, so I started learning about, I joined this nonprofit called Global Kids and went to these after-school programs where we talked about this internship I was going to be doing was the Human Rights Activist Project. And I was like, okay, this sounds cool. I care about justice. I care about fairness. Like being Black and trans and Latino and like a really white and like not friendly environment definitely made me care about what was fair. And so when I first joined and they were like, oh, we're going to be talking about climate change, I remember being like, what does
I was
have
tricked.
yeah, exactly.
Why am I here?
Exactly. It's like, what does this have to do with
Right.
human rights? What does it have to do with any of this? But it started being framed to me when I was learning about how during Hurricane Sandy, a lot of the people that were impacted were projects and low-income housing in frontline communities. Like in New York City, low-income housing is far more likely to be built in an area susceptible to flooding. Or even just right in New York City, in the South Bronx, which is one of the poorer areas of New York, and mostly people of color, we have like some of the highest asthma rates that kill young kids all the time from asthma attacks, and that's because of pollution. And I was learning this at the same time that like Black Lives Matter was starting to take off. And
Because you're 20. Are you still 20?
yeah, I'm 20.
So that was 7 years ago, 2012. So
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter was starting, and you were 13. And
Yeah.
I see. Cool.
So like Trayvon Martin had just been shot, Mike Brown had just been shot, and I was seeing this very like upfront, visceral like violence that was happening against brown and Black bodies, and I was realizing that there's that upfront violence, but also with the climate crisis, we've been having this like slow dispossession of these communities for a really long time. Like there's been Black and brown communities suffering and dying and losing land and culture to the climate crisis
and
for
you're
a really
losing
long
life
time.
quality. If you have
Yeah.
like terrible asthma the whole time,
Mhm.
you know, you're losing life, like you're being squeezed in some way.
Yeah, exactly. So I was seeing this movement that was being taken off from like this really bloody graphic violence of imagining an unarmed innocent Black man being shot. And that was evoked so much emotion for me. And I also found all this emotion evoked in knowing this slow burning dispossession that was happening to communities that look like me, not just in the United States, but all over the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, you know, we started talking about this because thinking about like Greta and the attention that she brings, and like, you know, not only as a white girl but a Scandinavian white girl, like it's just so the extreme version, I guess, you
Yeah.
know. And you know, as far as like marginalized voices, you represent the extreme and marginalized voices, and yet you both are fighting the same cause. How does it feel? You know, how does it feel to like see that it's not just like what do I mean? Like it's not just how does it feel to be next to her fighting the same cause? How does it feel to see that and also be to like witness it and then also be in it?
Yeah, it's definitely really bizarre, and being in DC with her the whole time was like this really bizarre experience where I've never had so many like clicks happening in my ear all the time. Like there's camera people everywhere, and DC journalists are like really aggressive and like will get in your face and all of just this stuff, and it was like we're really just trying to do the work. And I think that it's been interesting to see, not just with the climate movement, but in general, the way that media, especially among young activists, like to just tap onto one narrative or one story because...
Right, like Emma
Yeah.
Gonzalez.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
like easy for some reason because she was like, I guess she's Latina, but also white presenting girl.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. Like, and to me, I'm like, well, whatever gets the eyeballs on it, but also does it bone the intersectionality?
Yeah, so
it.
that's like a conversation that's been happening in the movement a lot, because a lot of people are like, well, at least Greta is bringing all this attention to our movement. But then also a lot of people are like, but that attention needs to be trickling down to the communities that need it and whose stories need to be uplifted. And I think we see, like, you know, in the example of the Parkland students and March for Our Lives and the example of the climate movement right now, it's that there's been Black and brown youth and Indigenous youth talking about these issues for a really long time because it affects us on the bottom line every day, like you were saying.
Right,
Quality
it's not
of
like
life,
this idea coming to you. It's
Yeah.
like in your body all day, every day. Bless
And
you.
that's why so many of us have a lot of the solutions and have a lot of
Right.
the voices that need to be uplifted when talking about these issues, when talking about gun violence or when talking about climate change. But there's just not that space for that because that's not the story the media is interested in. The media is interested in whoever's being like idolized in the moment, and then in a few weeks they're gonna forget about all the millions of people
Right.
who don't look anything like Greta, but who are actually suffering, losing land, culture,
Right.
existence.
And it's
every
almost
day.
like, you know, and it's like, so, you know, I don't want to say the phrase, I'm going to like whisper it, fake news. I don't want to even say the fucking phrase because I don't want to make it more real. You know what I mean? And I'm like afraid to talk bad about the media because they do, you know what I mean? But I just have to, whatever. I mean, I have to say it's like the media has created these visions, these pictures of what is acceptable. And then in like film and TV. And then when the reality mimics that picture, then it's like, see, it's real. But it's not like getting behind that picture to what is actually real.
Yeah, and that's not what movements were ever supposed to look like. Like, we're living in a time where all these things just look way differently than they ever did before. Like,
What does that mean to you?
like celebritizing youth activists or activists in general. It's like, yeah, like we look back in history and we see a lot of activists and they're historical, important figures to us. But right now, we actually just need to be doing the movement, and then we could choose, I guess, our heroes afterwards. But every time one of these articles comes out about like 10 youth climate activists to watch or things like that, that's something that makes the movement even a little less accessible. It's like, how am I supposed to go to high schools and middle schools and talk to young people about how easily they could become a climate activist when all the examples of climate activists they see are people with like tens of thousands of followers, or in every now this video ever, or things like that. How are you supposed to make the movement look accessible? Because the way these things are supposed to exist are in the grassroots, in the communities, and what's happening on the local level. But once we make it this big, grandiose spectacle anytime something's supposed to happen, it kind of takes a little bit of the weight out of the grassroots and what that's supposed to actually look like.
Yeah. Like, I try to be optimistic, you know, or like, because otherwise I'm just depressed. So I just force optimism. Like, you know, it's more accessible activism is more accessible visually, and we hear about it and see it more. And it's like, maybe it's bleeding into, this is not even a question, but I'm like trying to like work it out. Like, maybe it's bleeding into becoming normalized such that those conversations can become part of the discourse just normally and less scary for people to talk about. But I hear you. That is, it does fight itself.
Yeah.
It makes it like more accessible, but then also less accessible. Like Greta's the Charlize Theron of youth climate activists. So it's like, what? I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, that's interesting. Do you feel like there's like a solution to that? You know, media wise, like, it's like, I can't, the media is like helping and hurting so much, helping even more than ever, hurting even more than ever. Like, I don't know. It like sucks. I like really didn't want to ask you like, what's the answer? Because I'm like, oh, you're like doing it. I guess that's it. It's like, I hear that.
Yeah, I would say that a lot of what can be done is just encouraging, like the media could be using their voice, their platform to just encourage people on what they can actually do instead of like forcing them to, you know, get really excited about what people have already done.
Right.
I think that especially in high school, like I always had this huge fear, you know, being the climate activist, or even now in college, like being the climate activist in my friend group, I get worried that like, you know, my friends may look and be like, well, I guess, you know, like Vic's got it really covered,
Right.
you know, like, or if you see like same 5 people being youth climate
Right.
activists being highlighted to like solving this climate crisis,
Right.
like, oh, it seems like they're doing a great job
Right.
over there. But I think that the media could do more to just tell people what they can do in their communities that actually makes a difference. And something that I've been talking a lot about with people is just in their own communities, creating physical space for young people to be friends and be activists together. Because now, like, you could go online and, like,
Right.
and sign petitions or hop on Zoom calls for, like, national organizing meetings, and everything feels so distant and disconnected. But I would have never gotten into this movement if it wasn't, like, if I didn't have an after-school place to go and, like, hang out with my friends and be given, like, free pizza and things like that. Like, then that's what actually made me want to do it. Like, knowing I'd see my friends get a snack after school, like, and be able to do something, that's what like made me want to keep doing it. And I think that getting involved on the level where, like, you know, everything feels so distant and isolated and you're just watching what everyone else is doing online, it won't be as
that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Sorry to, like, ask you for an answer because you're already doing all the work, but that's a great answer. Can you just talk a little bit about what your year looked like? Like, did the movement ramp up real quick or something? It feels like it did, in a way that is exciting.
Yeah, for sure. It's been absolutely crazy, everything that's happened in the last year, especially doing this for so long. Like, I've been at events and speaking at things, or, like, we would have never filled a room like this when I was in high school, or even just watching these high schoolers that have been organizing the climate strikes. It's like they mobilized 315,000 people in New York City, and I don't know if I could have.
Well, I mean, you set the pillars, you know, you created the foundation for them to be able to do that. I mean, really directly, obviously. Let's clap for Vic for that, because that really is, you know, because of you.
And it was so interesting talking to a lot of them who were, like, juniors, seniors in high school, and they're like, yeah, I never like had been doing anything like this. But then I learned about the Fridays for Future movement. I learned about the climate strikes. I started educating myself on climate change and what it means. And then they're organizing huge major protests. Actually, it's funny, like, some insider tea from the climate strike. The permit that they filed was for 5,000 people. So so at Foley Square, it was just like the NYPD was freaking out. They were like, everyone was just freaking out. And there was people for blocks because it's like the permit was for not the amount of people.
Oh my God, they're like, I don't know, about like 5,000. Wow, LOL.
So I'm talking to the outreach person for the climate strikes after, and we're in the back, and she's like 17 years old, and she's like, I think I did too much outreach.
Oh my gosh, cool, awesome. That's a great problem to have. That's great. Vic, what is, like, bringing you joy and escape right now from all the hard work that you do?
Yeah.
That you can talk about. LOL, young people, have fun. I'm like, we don't.
Definitely, like, the moments I get to just be with my friends and, like, do normal stuff and not talk about anything pressing or, like, the largest existential threat of our time.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I've been watching sports a lot. I don't know, like, I think that's like an outlet that's been introduced somehow. I would have never thought, like, especially if you asked me, like, 3 years ago, like, oh, would you be sitting down to watch a football game? I'd be like, no.
Football? Oh my God.
But lately, that's been really fun for me.
That's hot. That's so cool. I, like, only watch tennis ever. I'm like, oh, tennis, whew. Back and forth and back and forth. But football's, anything else? Like, football's, like, a little scary, like, concussion-wise, but I love that you're, like, into it. It's so, like, aggro. Standard narrative, you know what I mean? That's fun. Cool. That's dope. Like, okay, no joke, like, ESPN. Like, where's football? I literally don't even know. Like, how do you seek out football viewing?
Yeah, well, it happens on certain days of the week.
Sundays?
Even more days than that,
no!
actually. Yeah.
Cool. I literally don't know.
And then all the, like, major, I don't know, like, Fox and NBC and...
That's so fun. Do you, like, drink a beer?
No,
because you're 20. You're too young. Right, you never would do that. And I wouldn't encourage it either. An idiot. Vic, can I make a Jenny video of you?
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
cool. I feel like I was gonna like do one too, but I'm like, enough of me. Oh, and you know what? We could just stay seated. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
You
these
ready?
mics are kind of captive.
Yeah, that's a. You can see right there. Okay,
You're gonna
ready?
tell me what I have to
Yeah, I'll
do.
prompt you. Okay. Name,
Vic Barrett.
age, gender, pronoun, location,
I'm 20 years old. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm in New York.
and what's something you love?
I love relationships and friendships and support of people around you.
That is awesome. Okay, what's one issue with the way the system? What's one issue you have with the system today?
It was built, bottom line, to be unfair.
Woo! Give it up. Give it up. Keep it going for Vic Barrett. Thank you, Vic. Thanks so much. Okay, I'm just gonna show you. I do generator so that we can LOL. DJ Hadoush is like the automatic. Gosh. Okay, generator and Vic, and then see once you tag generator, we freaking post your story to generator. So it's like really cool. You know what I mean? Okay, generator and Vic. Okay, great. That's how it is done. I hope you guys take it upon yourselves to do it later. It's actually really fun. Also, like I'm just gonna pitch it as like a pickup if anybody needs. Gross. Remember like the pickup artist, and it was like how to trick women into like dating you. I'm like, you're a terrifying. I mean, that was so scary, and the like energy behind that is rapey, obviously. It's so gross. The pickup artist, like, how to make an illusion to, yeah, it's awful, awful. Terrible stuff. Thank you, MTV. Oh, gosh. But I'm like, this honestly isn't like a tricking pickup. It's like you can actually get to know someone. Anyway, but whatever. Okay. So I feel so lucky that we just had Vic. I'm like, what? You know? And that was just, it's just such a, I just feel so lucky. We just had we crammed in an amazing education in a short amount of time. And we have another educational moment coming up, educational and entertaining moment coming up with Jumaane Williams. So let me just intro for a second. Jumaane Williams is our public advocate for New York City. He is the person who checks up on the city officials to make sure they are not fucking shit up more, I guess. And yeah, he's just such an awesome dude. I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram, but you definitely should. And yeah, give a warm welcome to Jumaane Williams. Woo! That was it. Woo! Jumaane! Woo!
What's up, everybody?
Hi. Thanks so much for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. Okay, so what was your day like today?
I'm tired. It's pretty hectic, but I got to get some energy here.
Yeah,
and
good.
I'm going to give energy. We did some press conferences. I did some call time for campaigning. I just came from a hip-hop fundraiser for families who've lost loved ones to police violence. And I'm talking to Ilana Glazer right now.
Cool, dope. Thanks for being here. So dope. Thank you for making the time. Really appreciate it. You know, I kind of explained it, but also I could use a refresher. What's a freaking New York City public advocate, Jumaane?
So my main job and my tenure is to make sure that nobody ever asks that question again when I leave office, and so that people understand what it is.
Until you, I didn't even know. I mean, we had you for the for when a bunch of people were running, but you know, I didn't know what it was until that race.
Most people don't, so you're not the only one. My guess is a lot of folks in the audience have no idea. But thank you for voting for me, those who did.
Yeah, we
Even
damn
though they weren't
did.
quite- sounded cool, so they voted for me. I appreciate it. By the way, as of February, I am the public advocate of the city of New York, 4th black elected ever in the city of New York. So
Wow.
It's pretty cool. But it was
As
created.
of this past February?
Yeah, as of this past February.
But you do have an election coming up
Yes, I do.
in November, right?
November 5th, I'm running against my colleague in government, Joe Borelli. He was the co-chair of the Donald Trump campaign in New York State in 2016.
So the co-chair of the Donald Trump campaign is running to advocate for the public.
Yes.
That is
That's
feels
what's
so ironic to me.
You should feel good about it.
Yeah. So that's really important that we vote on November 5th, if not just for Jumaane Williams, to vote again for Jumaane Williams. To me, I mean, that's my hope.
I think so too.
Yeah, I
agree
really,
with you.
I'm like, okay, cool. So was the special election this past June or the June before, 2018?
So the special election was in February. This is our laws are stupid. So
Purposely elusive. It's like so confusing.
it's very confusing. And so the special election was in February to fill out the term for Tish James, who's now the Attorney General. She was
Right.
a public advocate before. Shout out to Tish. She's mopping the floor with Donald Trump. And that fills out the term, though, from February until March until December of this year. Then there would have been a primary in June. Thankfully, nobody ran against me, so there was no primary.
Gotcha.
Now, and then that was even more confusing because the primary is usually September. They moved it to June.
Terrible.
And now
Terrible.
we have the general election in November, so I can fill the rest of the term until June 2021, when I have to run again for the next term.
And it sucks because that shit takes up your time rather than you being able to be the public advocate.
It is a pain in the ass. I really like, and that's actually where Joe Borelli, I, and everybody actually, Republicans agree that we got to change this. There's no reason for someone to be running 3 times. But the hardest thing actually is trying to raise money. This is the first time we're not going to get matching funds. And you try to call somebody, they say, but you're already the public advocate. They don't want to give you money. They think you're going to win. So it's very, very difficult to even fundraise for this. And that's because CFB, they're paying the butt too. They cut the requirements in half for the special election, but they didn't do it for the general. And so you can't get there. So we don't have enough money to spend to tell people about the election.
So the fundraising is for advertising.
Well, so there's fixed costs either way. Like I have some folks back there, they're really hoping to get paid at the end of the election. And so, campaign manager. But yes, and also to advertise, to let folks know, come out to the polls. There is a race. It is a real race. It has consequences. And we don't have the ability to do that. And was there anybody before they came here knew that there was a general election, citywide election on November 5th?
I mean, I knew
Couple,
it like...
couple.
Yeah. But
Couple.
it's,
So in the special election,
barely.
I think about 9% of the population came out.
oh, my God.
Hopefully we get 4 or 5. I mean, there really shouldn't be a citywide election where someone like me is elected with 9% of the vote.
Yeah, it's crazy. And also, it's like, I wish all the elections in the country happened on the same day. Like, why is it different? It feels like it's just to trick people.
So it sounds in theory like a good idea, but there is a counter to that. And so maybe you should have it, at least on separate years, because what sometimes happens is people will mix up national reasons why they want to vote for somebody with a local reason, and they are sometimes a little bit separate, and you don't want to get swept up. So sometimes you want the local issues to be voted on, and then the national issues. But we have particularly confusing voting laws. We've just changed some. We have early voting, by the way. You can vote on October 26th. To November 3rd. But I think out of 51 states, I think we're like 49th in terms of voter turnout. That's disgusting.
Out of 50 states, we're 49th. Oh, my God. Why not
Did I
just
say
be
51?
50th?
I think I said 50. You going to let me just do that? Just like say 51? No,
No, I don't think you said 50.
I said 51, right?
51.
See what I'm saying?
Out of 51 states.
They're just going to let it rock. They're
Yeah,
they were going to talk
sorry.
about me after,
No, I messed it up after you said, I think, the correct thing. I don't know. Wow. That's wild. Okay, so early voting we should know about, and also we should all before I have like more questions, but we should all just like take video and then tag Jumaane. So like we should be telling our friends about November 5th. Like,
please.
dude, I'm sure. I just want Jumaane to stay the public advocate. You know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
And it's important that we tell our friends. Why don't we do it now? Maybe just do like a little boomerang, like a little picture. Hi, peace.
Go to
Jumaane
JumaaneWilliams.com.
And at
Give me
Jumaane
50 cents
Williams.
too, something.
Yeah. And Jumaane. Hi. Tag him. Woo.
That was fun.
Cool. Yes, tell your friends. So November 5th is the next election, and early
Yes.
voting starts
October
October 26th.
I'll be voting on October 26th.
Got
So
you.
October
Cool.
26th to November 3rd.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Got you. I know that you sort of, I think that you became an activist through housing, coming up through the housing system and realizing how messed up it was, and then using your voice about it. What have you been able to do about housing since you've been public advocate?
So my first love is acting, surprisingly, acting. So that's what I started doing when I went to college. I have Tourette's syndrome, so I tickle out. Everything's cool though, I'm all right. And when I'm on stage acting, the tics kind of go away. And then I got involved. Social justice was always a big issue for me. Civil rights in particular, and social justice. And then when I got out of college, I started doing youth organizing. And then someone said, there's not a lot of black and brown people in the housing space. And so I got hired as a housing community organizer, actually. I always say it was before Barack Obama. Nobody knew what it was. My mother asked me to get a real job. That's a true story. And I had to tell her this is actually a real job. There have been things that we've been working on for 2 decades. And I got a shout out, I'll shout out the Assembly, but particularly the State Senate did a bang-up job last year, and we got some historic legislation passed in the State Senate that helps out tenants.
Yeah, tell us what it is.
It's amazing. The governor signed it, so you got to give him a little whatever. But he
Little
did it.
something, thank you.
Yeah, he came
thank
in
you.
kicking and screaming. We got a lot more work to do, but we just have to take a pause. We did some tremendous stuff. The issue of housing, we have a historic problem with homelessness as well, right? 60,000 people are going to be in shelter today. 1/3 of them are children. About half of them are actually working poor. We have people who live in the city who are homeless. Who work for the city, who are homeless. And so the answer to most homelessness is housing.
Right.
And then you have subsets, people who need supportive housing, substance abuse, mental health, domestic violence. But I just there's an issue sometimes that shows the difficulty of this. And just really quickly, how many people think that homelessness is one of the biggest issues historically we have right now in New York City? Just raise your hand. And how many believe the answer to that is additional income targeted housing for those people who need it? Right? And then how many people want a taller building next to them? So you see, this is the answer that we get all across the city, and it shows the difficulty of getting some of this stuff done. We can get it done, but we have to be honest about how difficult it is to do it. But the mayor, I believe, and the past city council, I think failed in putting forth some zoning resolutions that have rezoned parts of the city and have brought in massive amounts of market rate housing for a very, very small amount of so-called affordable housing. So I've called for a moratorium on all rezonings until we can fix mandatory inclusionary housing. I also have a bill that's saying we shouldn't have any rezonings until we do a racial impact study inside of the environmental impact study, so we know the impacts that's going to happen on the communities that are getting pushed out.
And it's funny, you say about the taller building, but I think there are luxury skyscrapers around, coming up around Central Park and in Brooklyn too. So kind of what's the difference, other than the money, but it's just what we're saying it is basically.
And we have tremendously high vacancy rates in those luxury co-ops, tremendously high. And we have no vacancies. The lower you go in affordability, you almost zero out in terms of vacancies. And you got these, so we wanted to pass a pay to their tax, basically saying, if you have a second home or you have some vacancies, things like that, you need to pay a tax to help us fund real income targeted affordable housing. The governor didn't support it. Some folks in Albany didn't support it. And so we have to make sure folks understand what's happening in Albany. Now, for a very long time, real estate industry had a stranglehold on Albany for quite some time. We slapped them up a little bit in last year, so that was pretty cool. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done around these issues. And this is happening actually across the country. Wow. In cities like this, people just cannot find a place to live. There are people who have 2 and 3 places where they live, and there are some people who have none. And we have said for a while that these kind of things is violence.
Right.
And if you don't believe me, you have about 5 families you can talk to in Chinatown who were killed because they had no
Right.
place to live. 4 of them were killed, and one is in serious condition, and then a gentleman who clearly had some mental health issues. And so these things are connected with violence, whether we want to accept it or not, and we have the ability and wherewithal to do something about it.
That's true. Give it up for Jumaane. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, a couple things I want to unpack, and I also want to say that we didn't get to the. I didn't mention this quote, but Vic was quoted in the Washington Post saying that the climate crisis affects Black and brown people and populations. It's a slow violence. I mean, he was talking about it with versus unarmed Black boys and Black men being shot versus this slow violence of climate and housing. I guess I just want to point that out.
I mean, but it's critically important, and it's a point, and and
Violence.
he said it so well.
That's kind of the thing I want to underline is that
And
it's
because
violence.
It absolutely is. When there is an unjust shooting, we see it right away. The death happens and respond. But where there's climate change, where there's our educational system, we are killing the same populations, but just a lot slower. And so we got to keep that same anger, that same angst, pushing forward. And it's hard to do, but we have to do it. And they just passed a bill to shut Rikers Island, which we had a press conference around that. But we have to understand the conversation around Rikers Island wasn't just about bricks and mortar. It was about destroying a system that is unjust. And just taking down Rikers Island and not investing in communities, not just alternative incarceration, which we should do, not just alternatives like supervision, which we should do, but really investing to the things that will prevent people from coming in touch with the system to begin with, like housing,
Right.
like quality education, like supportive housing, like mental health services. If we don't fully invest in that, then that plan means nothing, and we're just building more beds.
Right. I give it up, Jumaane. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this too with Rikers. The thing of close Rikers, there's so much good work that went into closing it. But the solutions, it doesn't feel like the solutions have been supported in it. Now that it's closing, I just was listening to Democracy Now! Today, and 4 to 6 other jails are opening up. And also, is it true that the police force has been invested in more highly? Why are more police being hired if there are less people incarcerated?
So the fly thing, I said fly. I don't know if we still use that anymore.
Yeah.
Cool kids will say that.
Totally.
Or dope. I used to say dope. I don't think the cool kids say that anymore.
Both. I think flies.
Lit. Whatever.
Fly is dope.
Yeah. So
Fly is lit.
what was dope about this is you had formerly incarcerated people who were part of that horrible system on both sides of this discussion. So you had people who were formerly incarcerated actually develop this plan and put it forward, and you had people on the other side saying, no, we don't need any new jails at all. And what I was trying to say, new jails are not the discussion. We're keeping the discussion in a place that we need to expand it. And there's a lot of changes that happened in the where they originally were going to do the 4 new jails. They've made it smaller. They've changed it a lot. I think there's a way we can change how it's even going to be on the inside that I think is more humane. I would say the one thing I would say is people who say we don't need any new ones, if you don't live there, you might not actually feel how bad it is once you're there.
Gotcha.
But that aside, what Democracy Now! Is correct. You can't invest $8.7 million into this new jails and then only give $235 million into the services that are needed. And they are correct. Most of the funding that went there are for people who are already a part of the system. And so we want most of the money. We need a $10 billion plan to deal with supportive housing, to deal with NYCHA, to deal with our educational system, to make sure people have jobs that they can pay their bills. We need the same or more invested to prevent people in being involved in the system to begin with. So yes, we have to close Rikers, but we have to dismantle the system. I always say, the system is operating how it was designed to operate from the beginning in this country. So I don't want to reform it. I want to dismantle it. We need to uproot it and put another system down. And that takes investment. So we can put whatever plan you want without investment. we're not really doing it. So I heard people saying, oh, today we closed Rikers, today we ended mass incarceration. We did none of that shit. We didn't close Rikers and we didn't end mass incarceration. We did put forth a plan that if it's not beefed up and executed properly, means absolutely nothing. So it is a step that folks should acknowledge, but it's absolutely not where we need to be right now, and we can't talk like it is. We should take some time, say, there were some people who worked on a plan who were formerly incarcerated. They got it, that piece to the finish line, but there's so much more work that needs to be done, and these are hard discussions, but we got to get through it. We have to get through it. We must get through it.
Cool. There was two things before I wanted to ask.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please.
And the one of the, I forgot to mention, the press conference we went to earlier was actually about supportive housing and the connection to Rikers. And so shout out to people from Vocal and people who've been working on this for a very long time.
Vocal. Cool.
Yeah, Vocal, yeah.
Shout it out. Two things I wanted to unpack a little bit. Before you said we slapped around the real estate in Albany or something, what does that look like? What does that mean?
We had our foot on their neck, man. That was just, it was awesome. Look, not everybody in any one industry is bad. And so I was trying to paint a broad brush. And I know some very good people on that side. I sound like somebody. But to be honest, for a very long time, their word was it. Their word, particularly through their money.
What, the real estate lobby
in lobbies.
Albany?
That was it. They gave money and they decided what was going on. And for a very long time, tenants had no recourse. Like the things that were going on, like people may not know preferential rent. If you're a tenant here, more than likely you have something called preferential rent. You don't even notice it. You sign a lease that has a lower amount than the market rate, and you don't notice until the landlord wants to raise it that you have preferential rent. We had people getting hikes of $800, $1,000, which was crazy. It was decimating communities. But we had people who were getting major capital improvements that were stuck on their rent forever. And there was a target that if you get to this amount, you can deregulate the apartment. And you shouldn't deregulate an apartment. No matter how much money you make, you have a right to ask for a repair without fear of being evicted. And those are kind of the protections that came with regulation. It wasn't just a price point. And those things, we couldn't have any discussion at all. Well, there was a blue wave within this state,
Senate, right.
The state Senate. And I think myself running against Cynthia Nixon running for governor and myself running for lieutenant governor really helped, along with the folks who ran for state Senate, Alexander Biaggi, Senator Salazar, Julia Salazar, Jessica Ramos, Zellner Myrie. All of those folks took out people who were, I always say any blue just won't do. So just because you're blue, there are things that we talk about that we blame Trump for, which we should, and the people who support him. But the issues I'm talking about, it was Democrats.
Right.
And we have to be clear about that. Democrats across the state and the city have got us to the point where we are, and they need to be taken out. And we need to hold them just as accountable as we're holding some of those other folks. And once we did that, we exposed people like the governor who had absolutely nowhere to hide anymore. You can't hide around the IDC. You can't hide the Republicans. Now what you're going to do? And we're able to get so many things done. I've been working on these things for 2 decades, people even longer than me. We were surprised at how many things we were able to get through.
Wow.
Even with that, there's still so much we have to get done. One of the most powerful things we did is we united across the state. Rochester, Buffalo, Ithaca, New York City. We said here in New York City, whatever strength we have to make sure we're connected with the people of the rest of the state. Because when I traveled across the state, I began to see how closely linked all of our issues were. And this is true. The people united will never be defeated. And we saw that happen in Albany last year, and we're going to do it again.
That's awesome. That's fucking awesome. Does it look like you going up and speaking and being like, hello, and you just invoke reality into their fake scripts? Do you call them out individually? What does it look like?
Well, it's weird now because 10 years ago I was this crazy lefty Jumaane, right? And it seems like I always said I'm an activist elected official. And they told me, you had to choose between being an activist and an elected official. I said, no, you don't. The best elected officials are activists. So I'm not going to choose. I'm going to be out on the street. I'm going to be doing what I have to do. It seemed like the pendulum swung because now every elected official says they're activists, even though I never saw them in the street. So we've been able, whether I was in Occupy Wall Street or preventing people from being deported, showing how important this is. And it's in vogue now, but we have to make sure that we're not just hearing what people are saying, we're watching what people do. Because when the pendulum starts to swing back, we want to make sure there are people who are true Because this thing, it's not as easy as folks think. It's not easy to stand up when the mayor calls you, when the speaker calls you, when the governor calls you, and say, I'm not doing this thing. And what I've decided to do, and I can't front, I'm human, right? So I try my best. I can't say there's no politics in anything, but I try my best to minimize it. And I really believe, and I've said this before, the seat I hold is not more important than the people I represent. And I didn't get elected to get another job. I didn't get elected to get reelected. I got elected to do simple a job. Hopefully it gets me reelected. It may not. But the more people we elect that have that point of view, like this year, about 40,000 people are going to get killed by gun violence. 40,000 people who live in this country, 40,000, like, are going to die from gun violence simply because motherfuckers want to keep a job. That's it. They want to get reelected. And they're terrified of the leadership of the NRA. Not even some of the NRA members, because some members believe in stuff.
Want common sense gun violence.
It is the leadership.
I mean, common sense gun laws.
Yes.
There is no common sense gun
That's
violence.
better than, my 51 state mistakes was better than.
Please, I was like 50, yeah.
But,
yeah, right.
And it's because they just want to get reelected.
And also, like, want bonuses. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I always think this, when I learned about the IDC, the Independent Democrats Conference, which was our state, like, official state representatives.
It was state senate. They
State
basically,
Senate, right. It was state Senate.
they were Republican-ish.
They were
And so-
selling their votes to Republicans for, like, $60,000. And I know that's someone's whole year's salary, but I'm like, then go make that in advertising or whatever. It doesn't make sense
Just
to me.
don't have this job.
Exactly.
Go do something
It doesn't
else.
make sense. It's like, get into TV, branded content. I mean, that's just because I know how to make money that I'm like, go shoot commercials, whatever. Like, why do you have to be a politician and secretly take bonus money to buy a car? Like, it kind of seems crazy.
And some of them got cars.
Right.
So, so the thing the two things that have always disappointed me the most since I became elected was how hard it was just to do the right thing. The thing that everybody agrees in front of the cameras is the right thing. When them cameras are off, whoa. And so that was difficult. And then how cheaply they sell out not to do it. So sometimes it's not even $60,000.
Right.
Sometimes it's a title. It's an office space. I'm not lying. Like, an office space can have someone do something that is against the people of the city and of the state. That's ridiculous.
I just don't get it. It's like, make another, get another job. Maybe this is the way that they think they can, like, scam the most money and get that office for free, but it just feels like so backwards to land
And
at
that
spot.
world, I mean, if you're not mistaken, your mind, it makes you feel that you're important, and
Right.
the prestige and the title and all this. And if you don't keep yourself as grounded as possible, again, I'm human, so sometimes,
Yeah.
and you gotta but you have to work on making sure that you realize the reality of what's happening here. And I mean, that's just how I approach the job. And so public advocate's office, which I actually haven't said what it is, so hopefully we get back to that. But the public advocate's office seemed to be a very good space for someone like me. When I ran for lieutenant governor, I was saying I wanted to turn that job into a public advocate for the state because they need someone there as well. And we didn't quite win, but we got this one. So
Yeah, good. So you didn't say what public advocate does? It's like, I mean, you're illustrating it, but tell me, what's your, like, elevator pitch of what it does?
Well, so it was created in 1989. The first public advocate was Mark Green. But people may remember Mark Green. And then in 1991, got elected. There's a few basic powers. Legislative, you can introduce legislation. You're an ombudsman. You are a charter cop, making sure that city agencies are doing the job they're supposed to do. You have a vote on the pension board, which is critically important, and you get to appoint people to important committees and commissions like city planning. But also, the bully pulpit is critically important. And
What's
so,
the ombudsman again and the bully pulpit?
the ombudsman is basically we're a go-between between the people of the city and government, making
Gotcha.
sure that they have a voice there and their requests are getting attended to. The bully pulpit is just a mere fact of the position. You can really steer conversations. And so when I got elected as a council, people would ask me, what's the biggest difference between community organizing and city council? I was like, people actually want to hear what I have to say. That's kind of dope. And now this is exponentially even bigger than that. On a citywide level, people are listening, and I can be a part of a conversation and someone listen. We have additional resources to put out reports like we put out on dealing with emotionally disturbed persons, trying to steer the conversation so that we have a non-police response to a mental health crisis,
Yes.
which is what we need.
Yeah, please.
So that's a hefty responsibility. But we're restructuring the office in a way, and I come from a community organizing model. Very often, government is doing things to communities. They're not doing things with communities. And I want the Public Advocate's Office to really fill that gap. And so we have a lot of exciting things going on. It's only been about 7 months, but I think we're doing some good things. And that's why I'm asking people to vote for me again November 5th and give me 50 cents at JumaaneWilliams.com.
Awesome. Okay, just a couple more things. Okay, so one thing is that you're very outspoken about mental health, the conversation, having conversation around mental health, and also this 211 thing, right? That's the number. Tell us about 211.
Well, as I mentioned, when I was a council member, we had a person whose family called for assistance. They had a mental health crisis, and he was killed. And we said to the mayor, we need a task force or something to review how we're dealing with these issues. He said no. Then a gentleman by the name of Sahid Vasu was killed not too far, and my colleague Alika Sambril, Councilmember MP Sambril's district, was shot and killed. He decided to do it.
For the same reason he was called for about a mental health?
Well, he was in the street, and everybody knew who he was.
But not the cops.
Not the
The
cops.
community did,
And
right?
so he was shot and killed. He finally put together a task force. I guess we're close to almost 600 days with the report that they said was going to come out 600 days late. And so we put together a report saying this is what we need to do. The number one work was a non-police response. But we also wanted to make sure that we know that that's just an acute. There are things that we have to do beforehand. And so where are the drop-in centers? Where's the respite care?
Right.
Where's the emergency rooms for people who have acute issues that are going on at this moment in time? Where's the care so that it doesn't get too acute? And then we said, perhaps we need a different number, because when you call 911 for this,
Right.
it elicits a criminal response. So let's get a 211 number or another number so people can call that number and get a mental health response, because these folks need health responses. They don't need the police. And because
Incredible.
And to be honest, it's unfair to the police, and it's unfair to the community they're responding to. The police are not trained for this. They have but so many tools, and so it's not surprising
Right,
when they
right.
use those
They're
tools
not mental health
at all.
practitioners, please.
And there's a cahoots model in Oregon where they send mental health first. And if the mental
Wow.
health folks decide that they need police, then they call them. That's the model we need here. There's been a little resistance to that, and we just got to continue pushing. I think when people think of mental health, they think violence. But what we have to do is remember that the vast majority of people who have a mental illness are not violent. And so we just have to get that out of our head. It's critically important. And then we also have to remember, just because you meet a mental health check-in, just all of us, we got to separate that conversation at a time from mental illness, because
Right.
all of us need a check-in.
Right.
I've been in therapy for the past 3, almost going on 4 years. Best thing I ever did in my life. I don't have a particular mental illness, but my mental health needed a check-in, needed some work. And it's important that we talk about it in those ways.
I love therapy. I've been in therapy in different forms. I'm 32 for 15 years.
Wow.
Hello, yikes. What's wrong with me? Why am I not fixed? No, I'm just kidding. And I just started with a new therapist, and I'm like, it's all I can talk about. I'm obsessed.
I mean, and when you find a good therapist,
Whew.
whew.
I know. I'm like, what's up with you? I want to know so bad.
But look, if I had done this early in life, my mother would be happy because I'd be married with children. But 3.5 years later, I just got engaged. India Sneed.
Oh my God!
I got to shout out India Sneed and her daughter, Amelie Amelie Claremont, who I know is listening, but probably should be in bed.
Amelie, get to
but-
bed.
So
And what's your
it
fiance's
works.
name?
India Sneed.
India Sneed.
Yeah.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
Wow,
it's
and I love
working.
that connection from therapy to
Oh
partnership.
yeah. Well, at a certain point, like I'm in these relationships, I'm like, it's probably not them. I'm the common denominator. And
Dude,
so
that is so accountable. Most men don't get there.
You got to figure it out.
Women are like, it's me, way too early, actually.
then it's
Wow,
like-
that's amazing. Good for you.
it's critical.
I was wondering. I was like, I wonder who Jumaane's dating. Oh, just curious. Before. Mazel tov. That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Okay. So just I keep saying a couple things. Okay, so how can we help you? One thing is we can donate. And where is that at? Where can we do that?
Please, JumaneWilliams.com. Anything. So with matching funds, you usually get 8-to-1 matching, and you can run a very good campaign. Without matching funds, I'm just going off of whatever folks give.
Gotcha.
And you know, again, folks are hoping to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
I don't want a post article.
Great.
He didn't
And
pay
anything helps. Like
Yeah.
$10 helps, $20 helps.
Very much.
JumaneWilliams.com.
Very much.
And we can also tell people about
please.
November 5th.
November 5th.
And then it's gonna happen again in June 2021, and I'll remind you guys. But November 5th is the one that
Yes.
we focus on. Let me ask you, what's something that you do just like for fun, just for joy and escape?
Well, I had an answer. You know, I was going to say I got engaged.
Oh,
But when I was back there, the real thing came out, like Instagram videos. I was cracking up. I love watching Instagram videos.
me too.
I love Adult Swim.
Yeah, dope.
So that's kind of my drugs, vegging out on stupidness on TV. Usually
Totally.
cartoons. Like, I just love.
Love it. What's your favorite cartoon?
There's a lot, man. Rick
Yeah.
and Morty, Family Guy,
Cool.
American Dad. American Dad's funny.
Dope.
Yeah,
Awesome.
South Park is dope.
Yeah, I like it too. I'm like,
I got to catch up. I'm so behind on The Walking Dead. I'm behind on Pose. I'm behind on Wu-Tang on Hulu. And there's a lot of.
did you watch the doc?
I didn't.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was like, oh wow, they've gone through a lot. I like have to finish that before I start the like fake one or whatever. So can I do a generator video with you?
Yeah, let's
and
do
I
it.
just ask you all the things like you love or whatever,
Sure,
and we know
sure.
your issues, but just
I got to watch the doc too, by the way.
Okay, cool.
You just
All
put me
right.
on blast.
So yeah, sorry. So what's your name?
Jumaane Williams.
What's your age, gender, pronoun, and location?
I don't want to tell my age. No. 43. He, him. What was the rest of it?
Location.
Oh,
Where
I'm
are
in
you?
Manhattan right now.
Yeah.
I'm from Brooklyn, though.
Yeah. What's something you love, Jumaane?
I love my family.
Yeah. And what's one issue you have with the system and the way it's run right now?
It is inherently unjust, rife with privilege.
That's perfect. You are perfect, Jumaane Williams. JumaneWilliams.com. Instagram, Jumaane. Give to JumaneWilliams.com. Thank you so much for being a really good public advocate for us.
Thank you, everybody. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Woo, woo, woo! Keep it going for Jumaane! November 5th, we're going to vote. Just going to give you, this is like at synagogue when there's like announcements at the end. You're like, let's go, we got it. So just like really quick announcements at the end. Please welcome my co-founder of Generator, Glennis. Hey.
Hi, Cam.
Okay.
I'll sign a waiver, Cam. Sorry,
What is it?
I didn't sign a waiver, so I can't be on
You'll
stage.
sign it, right? Please
I'm
sign
breaking
it.
the rules.
Okay, so just want to say quick that you got this thing in the mail.
Okay,
Tell
so
us about
I
it.
am. Has anyone gotten this in the mail? Mine's like crusty because I take it with me everywhere because I'm studying it. The New York City Voter Guide. So election 11/5. What up? Yeah. I'm gonna vote early because I can't actually go to the polls on the 5th. I'm gonna be traveling, so I got all that information. This thing is lit. There's a bunch of ballot proposals that have double negatives in them. They actually don't make sense. I think I'm pretty smart. I read a lot, and I'm legit studying these because I want to walk into the polls and like a Scantron history exam, blow it out of the park. So I'm doing that. I'm studying.
Scantron history. Scantron. I haven't heard that
I'm-
word.
I
I'm like,
promise-
is that the future or the past? Oh my God. Wow. And also, like, I didn't totally properly look at Glennis. Look at this beautiful queen,
thanks.
co-founder of Generator. Puts the whole thing together. I show up and this is it. But
I'm also cool-ish, but not that cool. So if you go to voting.newyorkcity, you can get all of this information.
voting.nyc, right?
Oh, NYC, yeah. And it's great, and I encourage everyone to do it. There's nothing more, I think, engaging and powerful than walking into the polls and knowing exactly what you're doing. I know that seems so weird, but the amount of times that I've been at the polls and I've been like, texting my friends, like, who are all these Democratic judges?
I Google the people
at the
the
polls.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
And I'm like looking over at the other people's, which I know is illegal, and then I'm like, what?
And also, we were saying this before. It's like, are phones illegal? Like, you don't even know
Literally.
what happens
I know.
anymore. Like, once you're in the polls.
Yeah.
So all this information is on voting.nyc.
Yes.
And then I posted a ton of shit tonight and tagged them, which I think they're NYC
New York City
Votes. NYC Votes.
Yeah.
So you can
They
find it
make
on
the
my Instagram.
stickers. You know, everyone who votes gets the stickers, and like, I did it.
Yeah.
Well, do more and
Yeah.
read about it before you go.
And so this will be, all the information is on
Yeah.
voting.nyc, or NYC Votes is the Instagram. And then we have a Jenny social generator. It's like just a dance, basically. And it's also
It's a dance.
It's like a school dance where you can find out information about the November 5th elections.
We're going to have someone talking about the ballot proposals there, like giving the cliff notes.
God. Oh my God. Thank
like
God.
literally, thank God.
Thank God, dude. Because
yeah.
I'm like, I can't read this, to tell you
Right.
the truth. I'm like, I'm bored.
She couldn't. She was over today, and I was like, read it. And she's
And I was like,
"Mm."
I see it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll have people talking about the ballot proposals. It's at Baby's All Right. It's going to be like a fun, groovy little freaking Jenny social. Yeah,
We'll
you'll get
be there.
information
Yeah.
there.
It's
We'll
gonna
be
be
there
fun.
and we'll be hanging.
Just a happy hour after work.
October 29th at Baby's All Right.
Yeah.
10/29,
And
10/29,
very
10/29.
important, all proceeds go to Planned Parenthood Action Fund. So turn up for that.
Yeah. So, okay. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Glennis.
Ciao.
Thank you, Dunwill. Thank you. Thank you to Vic Barrett, Jumaane Williams. Tell your friends. That's really the way that it happens. Tell your friends. November 5th, voting, early voting. I got an absentee ballot. It's a little like, there's a little like printing. I'm like, okay, the early voting would have been better. So, just letting you know. And voting.nyc can give you all the information. And thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Friday
you.
night. Coolies. And I invite you to make a Jenny video and tag us. Bye, y'all. Thank you so much. Love ya. Bye.